Welcome to the TikTok Boom podcast. My name is Natalie Potts and I'm invested in helping people love what they do in life and business to achieve greatness. Each week, I'll bring you an inspiring personal message to help you in taking action. Thank you for spending time with me today. Now let's go.
First of all, Natalie, thanks very much for the invite on the podcast. And it's great to be a guest on your show. And phenomenal time to be alive, by the way. It's truly a great time, and I love these opportunities, especially to meet new people. And I've just said about the environment, the people who you surround yourself with, they either drag you up or they drag you down. And coming on podcasts like this, speaking to people like yourself, and being excited to have these conversations. I mean, I sent you that message this morning because I was excited for coming on your show, and already now, what that's telling you is I've got to match John's energy. So we've got to be on the same level. Yeah, absolutely. And we need to take that process into everything that we do, whether it's a serving call, a sales call, a closing call. You've got to know where your energy is when you come at these things, because the last thing anyone wants to hear is, "Oh, hi, Natalie. Yeah, looking forward to being on the show. Can't wait," because you're like, "Oh, God." You know, and it's just not a great way to be. And it's important to know when your energy's down and when you think, I can't be involved in anything right now that's going to not put me in the best light. So yeah, great luck. I'm into it already because I'm excited.
Yeah. Let's look, I absolutely agree. I think there's a real thing about business just becomes not fun at times, and it's absolutely going to be that way. Of course it is, but it's like you say, how do you get the energy back and experiences to people where they feel that something great, and then when people are in that space, that's when great things can happen and come to fruition. Yeah. And you have to make that happen, and you have to be intent on that for sure. Let's go back though. So who is John, and what's your story?
Fantastic. Great question. So John Beamson's been many things to many people. I joined the army as a young lad because in the Northeast, the people who didn't do well in school and the people who didn't do well academically had a choice. Work in factories or join the forces. I certainly never wanted to work in a factory. So I joined the force into another place, and I was very excited. I was very proud to be in the army, and I wanted to travel the world, and I did that. And I also ended up serving in all the hotspots at the time, so the Iraqs, the Afghanistans, Belize, North America, Africa. I lived in Europe for 4 years. I got to experience many different cultures, because from up to that point of my 18th birthday, I'd only ever been around people from my town, so I wasn't really aware of other religions. I wasn't aware of other beliefs. I wasn't aware of anything really apart from what was very much in my own bubble. So that was a learning curve.
And where has that stemmed to? Where are you now, and what was the transition part?
So the transition from leaving the army to getting where I am now was a disaster. Because when I left, I had a lot of I thought the world owed me every favour under the sun, and I just thought people were going to throw 30,000-40,000 pound jobs at me because I'd been in the army, regardless of my skills, my knowledge, what I brought to the team. I was very much about what I'd done, I was doing, and that's something to fall into. They end up living on the old story, and they're not putting any chapters in the new book. But no one wants to read the old chapters. It's done. And the quicker I drew a line in that and said, right, we've done that now. We must move forward, and we must create a new buzz around ourselves. We must reinvent ourselves, and the only true way to do that, again, is through personal development. Coaches, people in business, athletes, people who are doing things that, move towards energy, big dick energy, whatever the word it is that you use, but that thing that excites you to go, oh, I want to be around that person. And ultimately that's what I've done. I've created a buzz where people move towards me because they're like, what's he doing now? Where's he now? What mountain's he up now? What challenge is he doing? Is he underground? Is he hanging off a rope somewhere? Because people are interested, and I think that's where a lot of people fall down. You need to be interesting. If you look at all of these people who are doing well in life, they're all interesting. Elon Musk, he fascinates me, absolutely fascinates me. I'd love an hour of his time because he's interesting. Piers Morgan, love him or hate him, he knows who his audience is. Like, he knows how to, he's mastered it. We could go on. The Trumps of this world, these divisive characters. The thing is, they know their message, don't they? They're very much clear on the message and the audience they're trying to reach. And I feel like it's an important thing. And I wasn't clear when I first got out. My message was all over the place. And I was just all about conflict and getting into conflict, because that's my background. That's all I did when I was in the forces, was conflict. So I felt like I had to be in conflict all the time, either with my partner, my family, my friends. I mean, I owe my first boss, I owe my first civilian employer, really, I owe him a long-winded written apology because I must have been a nightmare for him, because I didn't understand his stresses, because I only ever looked at things from my point of view. Yeah. And now I see the much bigger picture. And do you know, and by no means do I agree with what P&O Ferries did, but I looked at that situation and thought, can you imagine being the CEO and the person higher than you said, look, you're going to have to fire these people. Yeah. And we know we're not going to do it in the right manner, but if you want to keep your job, then you have to do it. That is a horrendous task. And for him to go and do that, I said to someone in a conversation, can you imagine what his mental well-being's like now? Everyone thinks he's the bad guy, but he's just following an order from someone higher than him saying, well, if you don't give it, we'll find someone who will.
Yeah, it's really funny, actually. I had a similar conversation with somebody yesterday just touching on that, because I absolutely think you're right to a degree. He also makes a choice to be there and see that through, in my opinion. And I come from that. That's me coming from a background where I've done leadership. And I do remember being like that situation of being put in positions where I had to do things or be a way I didn't believe in, that was with my intrinsic values or belief system. And that's where the internal conflict came about. And I got to a point where I was like, actually, this isn't working for me. It's not about them. I'm not going to make it that. I'm going to own it myself and take responsibility and say, I don't want to be that person anymore. So I think you're absolutely right. But I think there becomes a point where we have to be honest with ourselves to, does that stand, like you shared earlier, around our beliefs and everything, and what we want to be known for, and our message that we put out there. So there is that next part, or are we doing it just to be completely ruthless and I just want a life for myself? And that's a decision to make. I don't potentially see them as leaders or people that are inspiring me to want to be a part of in life. I think they can teach me something, but I don't think it's necessarily, my life is very much, I work off the ethos a lot, like Tony Robbins says, whether you like them or not, the secret to living is giving and loving what I do. And my pure vision is to just help people love what they do. And that's it, simple. Just keep some stuff simple in what you want to do. You'll overcomplicate things. I think I wrote so much from what you shared there. I think it's great. It's great. I mean, what do you find? So moving on though, I know you said about where you come from with almost this word entitlement came to me, and I don't want to put that out there.
It is.
You haven't. But it's interesting. What would maybe be a word that would feel right for you? If that's not, and what did you learn from that changed the way you see things to behave going forward?
Yeah, so entitlement is a word that I would use, and there's a lot of people now in the veteran space who approach me because they see me doing well, or what they presume is doing well, and they come to me, and they just come to me with this entitled attitude of like, oh, you're doing well, will you give me the keys to the kingdom? Well, just hold on a second there. an hour of my time costs X. What date works best for you? Whoa, like if you ask me for my time like that, then you want something from me. You've seen something in me, so there's a value to that. And that's another thing that I've figured out. There's value to everyone's time. But when I left, I was like, well, I was in the army and I've been to Afghan and I've been to Iraq and I've been here and I've been there. And I had all of these like great reasons why I deserved to have this great lifestyle. When actually the truth of the matter is it was my decision to join the army. It was my decision to serve in the British Army. It was my decision to carry on with my service, to go to all of these places. I left voluntarily, so I said, right, thanks guys, I hit my 12-year point, bye. I chose to leave. And then when I got out, I was like, yeah, I mean, it was, I'd look back now and I'd think, I can't believe I did that. Like I would literally go to interviews. My CV was shocking, like absolutely shocking, stinking of entitlement. And I think half the time I'd love to hear the honest feedback now from some of the people who interviewed me. Because, you know, when people would talk about like hourly rates or yearly packages, I'd be like, well, is that it? And it's like, but what have you done to earn more, John? You know, what you've applied for this position. We've said that that's the price, that's the rate when you've applied. Tell us why you're worth more money. Because I was in the army. Well, that's great, but like, no, that's not how it works. It's not how it works. So, and again, it took me a lot. I had to destroy myself, actually. Now, if I'm honest with you, I destroyed myself with drinking and drugs. Like I went down that route, and it's a terrible time. I put loads of weight on. I got really unfit. I enjoyed the escapism of being hammered on a weekend. I enjoyed just thinking, I'll go and drink, and then for those brief hours that I'm out, I'm somebody again. I always wanted to be the funny guy of the group. I always wanted to make people laugh, because really what I craved the attention of others badly. Because I had flaws in my own character, and I didn't have the courage to look at them and say, I'm failing here. And again, conflict. I love conflict, I honestly. And I got involved heavily with the Brexit debate, not because I was massively into politics, but because I didn't have a tribe and I didn't have a why. So once somebody look, personally, I think Nigel Farage is a great public speaker. Like the way he can speak and the way he can speak to a crowd, he's got something about him. And I really drew to his message because I was looking for a chief. I was looking for a commander, and I didn't have one, and I certainly didn't have enough in me to become one. And when I heard him speak, I was almost like, this is my commander. What does he want me to do? So I sort of got indoctrinated into it, and then I ended up getting massively involved with Brexit, obviously from the Leave side. And I was just like a blind soldier, just following orders, just follow orders. John, you used to do that all the time. You're really good at it. Just follow orders. And again, it was a case of not because I had any massive big dog in the fight when it comes to politics, and I really wanted to leave Europe, and I really wanted to, there's none of that. It was just, I got a community again. I got a sense of purpose and a why. And for a brief period of time, I was like, oh, I'm doing this now. This is what I'm doing. This is my thing. But again, it was just covering the holes in what I wasn't doing. And it was a way for me to say, yeah, I'm doing things in my life. I'm involved with Brexit. If someone had really sat me down and said, yeah, but what you really doing with your life? I wouldn't have liked that question, and I would have been confrontational about it, because I wasn't prepared to go, well, actually, yeah, do you know what? I'm actually doing nothing with my life. I'm just cruising, if I'm honest. And I didn't want to hear that answer.
I think, so first of all, thank you so much for sharing about, where you got into what you would see as hitting rock bottom. And, I think we all have to learn to be more vulnerable in life, for sure. And that was the experience I went through last year. Like, my rock bottom was pretty much, I was drinking, but it wasn't a problem for me, but it was a self-sabotaging habit in terms of pushing those emotions down. I'm fine. Fitness was that. I was the other way of fitness. I was intense on it every single day.
Yeah.
And that was a form of, it was a self-sabotage technique almost. So I think we do hit those, and we can share our stories and our pains to help people feel inspired. And like you shared there around the idea that you almost look to somebody to be that, whether they're right or wrong or whatever for you, in terms of it's more around the inspiration of leading you and you feeling have a sense of purpose is absolutely key. And I always say you've got to have people that are about a third of people where you want to be, a third of people where you're at, and a third of people where you work. And it creates a great network. And people say, I don't like the word network, all of that. And it's like, look, take all that out as well. It's about who do you have around you then? Who you collaborate with, who you sharing and spending time with, where you're investing time, your effort and your energy is going to change and shift where you're at right now to move you forward. And that's why I always love the coaching, because coaching is about forward facing, opposed to, it's us understanding our habits and our behaviors and what's got us into those points of rock bottom. But it's then, well, I need to take that pain, and that needs to be my drive and my motivator, and be aligned with my values to be forward facing in what I want to achieve, because I can't change a past. I can use it and start to understand it over time to help move me forward. And I think people look at it like, what's the solution? Like we get in collective of problems, like you say, that it's drinking and it's drugs and it's out, then it might be women and it might be whatever. But we don't think that we need a collective solutions. We just think we can have one and it's going to solve everything. And it doesn't. It takes time, it takes energy, and it takes massively the right people around you to show you that, and almost give you that time of, it's almost sad when you say about people never fed back to you what they is, and we need to be better at that as well. That's what I love about people like Piers Morgan, that he uses the word, the term out there is snowflake society, and I can't bear that term because I think it's really detrimental to mental health. I do think, like he shared, and what I took, he was on a recent podcast with Stephen Bartlett. If you haven't seen it, it's phenomenal. And I just thought, like you said, he's a bit like Marmite. You love him or hate him. You can't take away the fact that he's bloody tenacious. He perseveres. He tells it how it is, whether you like it or not. But there's an element of truth to some of the fact that we should be more resilient, and we should be more honest with one another in that, actually, and, if that was you, for example, I'd be saying, John, this was amazing about what you did. This is what I saw and what I thought. How do you see that? What's coming to light to help you?
Yeah, no, I totally agree now. And I even look back and stuff and think, oh my God, because naturally I bump into people who are used to in that different world. And they'll say, you've completely changed. And I'll say, well, I have completely changed. And then they say to me, how have you changed this much? And I'll say, well, God gave me 2 ears and 1 mouth. So I shut up my mouth and I opened my ears to people who were wiser than me. And I said, and when I got challenged, I didn't get upset and I didn't see it as a personal attack. And then I thought, yeah, I do that. Like, that's a trait that I do. And we all do it, don't we? We all get our businesses. We get, when people say, give us some feedback, like someone once gave me some feedback. And again, I owe that person an apology because absolutely lit them on fire in an email. But it's because of how dare you attack my baby? Do you know what I mean? Like, you've just said my baby's ugly in the street and I'm not having it. Like, that's how I felt. But the things I do now, I used to have a ready, shoot, aim policy. And now I've got a ready, aim, shoot policy. So if I get some criticism, what I do is I'll look at it and I'll think, that's really pissed me off. And then I'll walk away and I'll do something else. And then I'll send it to somebody else and say, am I reading this wrong? I was like, how do you interpret this? Oh, no, they mean like this. Oh, okay. And then I'll have a discussion with that person and I'll go, right, okay. And then I'll reach back out to that person and say, look, I've got your feedback. And when we had a conversation at the start, before we did anything, these were your expectations. And I just read your expectations back. And we sort of end up having a nice sort of debate. But yeah, I used to be terrible at feedback. It got to a point where I think everyone just thought, don't even say to him that you thought it was average. Because you just go off it. But now it's like, how would I ever get better if someone only ever tells you all the time, you're brilliant, mate. How they're not doing you any favors. And I've just given a friend of mine who's got a business, a bit of tough love the other day. She owns a catering business. And I'd not seen anything from her social media posts, nothing. She'd not phoned me. And I was like, I phoned her up and I was like, hey, mate, phenomenal time to be alive. What's going on with the catering business? Oh, well, what it is, John, the prices are up and no one's eating. Hang on, no one's eating. I was like, who have you been around? I was like, do people not eat food anymore? Do people not value your service? And I said, just run me through what you do again. And she was like, well, we do this and we do that and we do that. I said, well, it sounds like you're a lot of things to a lot of people, mate. And I think that's your problem because you don't know your why. And if you don't know your why, how am I supposed to know? And I said, and why have you never phoned me saying, oh, John, I see that you run all these big events. And who's doing the catering, please, on your event? Because we could do you a fantastic offer. And I said, why is that phone call never happened? And she was like, well, I thought you were busy. I was like, you assumed I was busy without asking me if I was busy. I was like, and how many other people are you assuming don't have any money, don't want your food, don't want what you're offering, and are not interested in you? She's like, everybody. And I said, well, there you are. Yeah. And I was like, don't assume, mate. Ask powerful questions and get the answers.
Yeah, we need to ask so much more for things. Like, I was just, they're only going to say no.
Yeah, they're only going to say no, and then you can always spin it and say, fantastic. Who do you know that would benefit from a service like mine? Oh, well, actually, my friend who's going on holiday in 10 weeks, she's been looking to lose some weight. Fantastic. Can you make the introduction? Yeah, of course, can. But we don't because.
It's interesting when you mention around. No, it's fine. It's interesting when you mention around the idea of you would apologise to people now. What if you rephrased that and said, phone them up and said, I just want to say thank you?
Absolutely. It's powerful, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's powerful, and Natalie, you know, me and you are both from the Expert Empires family, and that's revolutionized the way I think, the way I approach a task, the language that I use, my tonality, all of it has changed in a short period of time. And I'm forever, you know, thanking Matt Earwell, Matt Selby, Nick James, that entire sort of roster of people.
Yeah.
Because they're playing at a much, much higher level than me. But if you just take a few of what they're doing and put it into your business, it makes, in your pond, it makes such a big difference.
Sure.
And you just know how to ask the question, and as well, like you know how to qualify and dequalify people, because you should be. I don't want to work with everybody, and I'm sure you don't want to work with everybody. Yeah. I just want to work with the people who I know I'll get results for.
Yeah. I did a post the other day that, you know, I look for clients that are taking action, that are inspired, that are driven, that are goal setters, that, you know, have a vision, that have energy, that come back to a message and say, I need help. You know, that's the type of person I want to look for. So, you know, you mentioned again earlier about kind of touching on new experiences and things. What is it that you do?
Great question. I work with CEOs and business owners, and I offer adventure and escapism now. I've harnessed the power of the outdoors and my knowledge and my network of the outdoors to solve people's problems at that level, at business owner, CEO level. So that really, I wish there was a better word for bespoke. I feel like it's massively overused all the time, but that one-to-one, that personal level. And a great compliment I've had, I love going out with you, John. You speak to me like a normal human being. And I'm like, bingo. And, you know, we're talking high six-figure salary people who, in their own world, people always pander, talk up. Oh, yeah, always. There's always a question, like they're always trying to get something from them, where I'm just like, yeah, you know, the whole DBS thing. Yeah, stop being shit. Come on, let's go. And they're like, oh, he's putting it on me. And they like that, they like that level of accountability. So expeditions across the UK, CEO days, one-to-ones. Again, another great compliment was I love the fact that I don't have to make any decisions all day. And I thought, well, that's powerful, isn't it? Because obviously in a business owner CEO's day, I get up, breakfast. If you've got family, sort myself, go to work, emails, questions. Are we doing this? Are we doing that? And all the buck stops with the person at the top of the tree. And I take all of that away. So there is no decision making. I just pick them up. They jump in my car, in my pickup, and we go and have a fantastic day. And I drop them off back at home, and they go, I've had a great day, John. Thanks very much. I'll be in touch because I definitely want to come out again. Brilliant. Great to have you. And that's how I do it.
It's phenomenal. And I guess what springs to mind for me there is just this word escape holds so much promise and energy within itself. And, you know, I know that, like you say, decision making or you're an implementer, and it's, you know, it's constant, that routine, and you just don't switch off. And the outdoors offers so much for no distractions.
Yeah.
And allowing you to find that creativity within yourself, to have space to think about, what do I want, what's important, what's a priority, where am I going with this, what's my vision, what's my goals, you know, and almost reassess, readjust to build on that in a different way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've had to go on, like, I've transformed my business from what I was doing to what I am doing. And it's because I've started working with the Nick James and these types of people, where they've challenged my money patterns and what I think's a lot of money. And they've changed my processes. And I've had CEOs and business owners who've said to me, John, look, I know we know each other now, so I can feel like I can say this to you now. Some of your products, mate, are a bit cheap. Now, I know what you do, and I totally see the value in your service, but there's people in my world who would look at that and go, it can't be that good, it's too cheap. And it's challenged me. Because I've still got my dad's mentality. Oh, I can't believe you're quitting a good job. Oh, I can't believe, you know, there's a bit that Matt Elwell does about his dad and negative Nelly and all that. And it resonates with me because that's what my father was like. Well, I'll just get a steady job, make a steady income. One will do you a year. That'll do you. If you want any more than that, you're greedy. And then this whole like us and them mentality. And then like it's challenged the way I think. So I have put my prices up because I know what I'm offering and I know the value that I'm bringing to people's lives. So, and in breaking news, I remember the first time I put my prices up and then they offered the package and then someone went, oh yeah, mate, fantastic. How do I pay? And I was like, what?
It's so true, honestly, and it happens. And I've noticed it myself, and I've noticed it in, and you know, I work with a couple of business coaches, and obviously, like you shared, Expert Empires have been phenomenal, and only in a short period of time. But I have an idea with a similar idea, but with coaching, that anyone can say they're a coach, and the entry level is low, right? That's the issue. But 1%, I think there's like 87,000 coaches is what Nick James shared actually in the UK.
Wow.
I think 1% of those are performing at the game that is coaching, and it is pure performance and personalized experience of what coaching is. You know, it's not mentoring, it's not facilitating, it's not training, it's pure coaching experience for somebody of powerful questions to change where they're at right now to move them forward and help them achieve it. You know, there's a gap and they're not doing it because they're not taking action. They are taking action, whether it's the smallest steps, they are taking action. And there's only 1% of those coaches that are performing at that game.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. And again, only a few years ago, if you'd have said to me, if someone, what are you doing? Oh, I've got a life coach. I'd have gone, oh, jog on.
Yeah.
Fluffy. I'd have called it fluffy. That's the word I would have used. I would have said, like you said there, I don't particularly like the word snowflake. I don't. I think there's other ways of looking at stuff. But I'd have said, oh, you're a bit of a snowflake, because that's how I would have looked at it. Like, instead now I look at it and I look at coaching, and it fascinates me, and I listen to and again, Natalie, I think as well, I move towards people who I don't like, who I might not initially agree with, or we've clashed on a social media post because I think what's going to challenge me more here, going towards someone who doesn't agree with me, or going towards everyone who loves me. Like, it'll be easy to go towards everyone who loves me, but really, what is it that I've said that's caused this person to go like that? And if I can bullseye flip that person, or we can have a conversation and realize that, look, we don't have to agree on everything, but we can always have an adult conversation. We can always exchange different points of view and different beliefs without going, I don't like that person because they said this and I'll never speak to them. So it's like, I always move towards things, and I can feel myself doing it. I get like this, almost I pull back when I see something that I don't like, and I think when I know I've done that, it catches me, and I think, oh, it's challenged you. It's challenged you. You haven't liked it, so now move towards it, because there's going to be learning in that, and there's going to be a different thought process. So a great example, I'm going on a TV show in June, and the TV show is called Naked and Alone, Running Home. The clue's in the name. So you start with a partner, an unknown partner who you don't meet until the daytime. And obviously you start naked. And the idea and the premise of the show is to find food, shelter, clothing, work together as a team, get from point A to point B. And obviously we're naked. So straight away, there's like that whole like, oh my God, we're naked thing. But initially when I saw it, I really pulled away from it. And I was like, got ya. Because you're the one telling everybody, get out of your comfort zone, stop being fluffy, stop doing things that you know you're good at, stop doing things that are easy. And then I thought, I've got to do it. I've got to move towards it. I've got to be involved. And I found out that I'm on the show in June. And I'm excited, but I'm also scared as well. And I couldn't tell you the last time I was scared, because I've been in 4 conflicts. So I know what fear and being afraid, and that feeling, to me, I know what that feeling is. I know how it feels. I went caving last year, and I hate confined spaces. And it was the most, honestly, I use humor to overcome challenges. And that caving was horrific for me. Like I was almost in tears in point, because I just found it that overwhelming that I just couldn't get my head around, like, oh my God, there's nowhere to move. And, you know, rocks on your face as you're sliding past them. It was horrific, but I did it. I faced it. I overcome it. And I know that I can do it. So I've enabled myself to go, well, we've done caving. We're not a fan, but we can overcome it. We don't need to fear it. And again, with this show, because it made me pull away first, I caught myself and went, we've got to do it now. Because we've had that reaction that we had about caving, which we had about when we was in Afghanistan. That reaction that's always made us pull back. Once we've done that thing, we've always become better after it.
Well, it's like the idea, face the fear and feel the fear and do it anyway, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think it's a question that came to my mind earlier for you around working with CEOs, and you spoke around beliefs and things. How have you found you've had to adapt in order to not necessarily match them deliberately, but to be aligned where your worlds are so different? How have you had to adapt, and what's that taught you?
Yeah, so one thing that I've learned is the title CEO, MD, business owner, the person who sits in that role, they can all be very different. So I've come across working class people who have done really well, gone to the top, and I find we have middle ground because we've sort of come from the same background. And then I've worked with people who have been, let's just say, middle class, higher class, who, you know, and I've got to then speak up. So I've got to really think and concentrate about what you're saying, how you're saying. So some guys, it's very laddie conversations because they're from the same background. They're builders, they're in the trade, and they just happen to have businesses that are doing really well, blah blah blah. But we're still kind of the same. But then I have gone out with people who have gone, we have nothing in common here. So I'm going to have to quickly identify what makes that person tick, and that's the conversation that we're going to have. And because I've got a military background, my default setting, they always say, oh, so you're in the military then? Oh, you're in the army? And I'll say, oh, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Oh, what was that like? And then we sort of have this conversation, and then I'll know about them because I'll do my homework, and I'll say, well, actually, and they'll say, what's Afghanistan like? And I'll say, well, actually, it's probably like running a big business, where sometimes if you're too far forward and you're too in the trenches, you can miss the bigger picture, which can cost you in the long run. And I sort of use all these like terms and phrases where they go, oh yeah, I see what you mean. And it's slowly making decisions, and we find points of sort of to talk about. And then obviously Mother Nature, oh, what's that over there? Oh, that's Helvel, and and it's this, and that's the Crag, and that's the Tarn, and oh, brilliant. And Alfred Wainwright, oh, who was Alfred Wainwright? And like we find, you know, because I just think of them, they're a human being. You know, forget the title, forget the salary, forget houses and cars. It's a human being. So we'll have something that we can talk about.
When are you at your best?
Under pressure, definitely. That's when I really pull it out. When the pressure's on, that's when I start to perform. Like, if I'm doing really well in the business and I've took a lot of money in, I do this thing where I almost just hit cruise control and think, well, that's me now for about 2 or 3 months. That's all my bills paid. I'm going to have a little mini break and I'm just going to cruise. And then as I start getting closer to that point where I think, yeah, I could do with a couple of more clients, I almost need that pinch of a new pair of shoes saying, we're getting close. And then I have action. But again, I've looked into coaching and gone, why am I doing this? Like, why do I keep doing this? Why do I keep getting really comfortable and then just coasting a bit, coming back and going, right, I need to take action again. So again, I've asked the coaches who I work with, what's about my psyche what's causing me to do this? And like now I'm looking at it differently. But yeah, no, like definitely under pressure, because Afghan was a pressure pot. In my old civilian job was a dangerous job with a lot of pressure on it. And then I'm working with CEOs and business owners who have the potential to make or break me. If I offer them a terrible service, they've got a network of people. That's me not working with their network of people.
Yeah, you're spot on. You're spot on. Look, I'm conscious of your time, and I could talk to you forever.
No, it's fine.
I do have. So what I have when I have guests on, I ask them to. It's a new thing I started though, actually, but I get them to leave a question for the next person to answer, and then I will ask the same of you. So the question I had from my previous guest was, if you let one thought go, what would it be? And what could you do without that thought?
Oh, that's a great question. My thought is, what if I truly started to believe in myself? Because I still have that working class, don't overcommit, don't pay for that coaching just yet. What if? Mm-hmm. Oh, I still have that little gremlin in my mind saying, don't fully commit just yet because, what if? And I'm working through it. So that would be if I could just fully believe in like John Beamson, the package, rather than just, because I'm still not quite there. I probably should have joined a few masterminds months ago, but I still keep telling myself this story about, what happens if it doesn't work, and you've got to go down to Birmingham, and what happens this, and fuel's gone up. So I've still got things to work on, Natalie. Do you know what I mean? I've still got things I've got to get over. And I suppose we're always, when it's the right time. Question for you: when is it the right time?
Yeah, look, I don't think you're ever ready. I think you have to just go for things. And I think you have to a degree, work out how much you can trust your gut. Because I think people use that, trust my gut. But I think you have to listen and be very self-aware. I guess the question I'd have to you off of that is, if you were lying on your deathbed right now, and this is always what I come to, what, and you're thinking back to this point in your life, what would you be telling yourself, and what decision would you now make from that, because you can always be waiting for the next thing and be ready, but what if it does take off, and what's it gonna take for you to be ready?
Yeah, no, again, I'm asking myself this every day, and I'm gaining self-confidence. I am obviously a very confident human being, a very confident man. But like everybody, I still have that tiny, God, I mean, if every one of us just let go, where would the world be? Do you know what I mean? That's the question. But like, I'm working through it now. You talked about Stephen Bartlett earlier. The podcast he did with Terry Crews is one of the most powerful podcasts I've ever listened to. Yeah. Honestly, Terry Crews, I'm really fascinated by him as a man and as an actor, because his story is not what I thought it was going to be. And he was like, I've never heard anyone be so honest. Like, if you haven't listened to it, please listen to it. Mm-hmm. It's the most honest account from a man who's macho, big, muscly, plays the stereotypes. And then when I heard it, I was like, I can't believe how vulnerable and how honest he's been in this podcast. And I was like, he is fully self-aware, like the power that he now holds to be able to go onto a show and talk about his adult, like he cheated on his wife, how he felt, the lies he told, the stories he told himself. He can do what he wants. He's Terry Crews. It was powerful. And I was like, wow, like that there is like a whole new level of like self-development and awareness, which I think he's spent a lot of money to get to that point. And he's made a lot of mistakes as well to be able to get to that point. But no, that's it. If I truly started to believe in myself, like, let's just say I'm 90% in now, where would I be if I was 100% in? Mm. So I just had 10%. Just got to get there.
It's breaking that 10% down, isn't it? And then, you know, being honest with yourself on what is that 10%, and then going for it. What would be a question you would leave for the next guest?
What's been the greatest decision you've made at the drop of a hat?
Okay. Are you answering your own stuff here? Like, you could be making I could get you to make a great decision now at the drop of a hat. Hold you right now. You're answering your own stuff here.
I know.
Okay.
Is that okay? I have a question for you.
It's beautiful. I think it's one for you to think about. It's rhetorical. Yeah. Where can people find you and find out more about what you do?
Yeah, fantastic. So www.robustours.co.uk and .com. LinkedIn, John Beamson, very active on LinkedIn. Of course, that's where my audience live. Instagram, more for fun and lols and being a little bit controversial. Facebook, John Beamson individual, and obviously Robustours is across all the platforms. I'm thinking about going on to TikTok, but I'm also conscientious. If you ever look at Napoleon, Hitler, all of these people fighting on too many fronts dilutes your message, and you can be too many places too many times.
Yes, that's kind of
so.
Thank you so much for your time. I do really value it, and all the best of everything you do.
Brilliant. It's been great speaking to you, and again, thanks very much for your time. And I know that our paths will cross paths at Empires or the next Elite Closing Academy event.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you.
Brilliant. Natalie, thanks very much for your time.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and inspired you on your journey. Make sure to share this with a friend and subscribe to the podcast. I really love hearing feedback from you, so leave a review and let me know what part of this episode resonated with you the most. And now it is time to go take action, make a difference, and have a great day.